with the ukulele, how much of it is the challenge of trying to do more with less that excites you?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought to myself that I need to do more with the instrument. You know, it was just as a kid growing up with it. Unless you have access to more notes or uh, you know, more range of a longer fretboard or something, you don't really know what you're missing, right? And so growing up playing the ukulele, I had that, and I just thought, oh man, this is cool, right? I have this this great instrument to work with, and I was very lucky because my mom had a really good ukulele. I mean, she had a Kamaka, which was, you know, the best ukulele that you could get. So I was very spoiled where when I was 4 years old, my first ukulele was a Kamaka, which I still play today. Not the one that that she had, but I have my own now. So I don't have to borrow my mom's. But yeah, so I was so I never thought of it as like, oh man, this is a challenge because I don't have the range. So one of the things that I would do to get around the limited range of the ukulele is I would write out the melody of the song, you know, from beginning, you know, like the verse and the chorus and the bridge or whatever, and I would find the lowest note in the song and the highest note in the song, and usually it always falls between 2 octaves because most singers can't sing more than 2 octaves, right? So, so I would just take that range, and I would find the appropriate key, whatever key the song had to be in, so that the notes of the melody would fall between middle C and the second C above middle C, right? And sometimes if it was a song where you know, the range wasn't so large, I would find the key I would find the right key where the entire melody could be played on the first string.
Oh,
And that way I could do a lot of more chord melody stuff in a very easy way, you know, because you just move the chords up and down the fretboard, but you just make sure that the melody note is always played on the first string, which is the simplest way to approach chord melody, because sometimes when the melody falls in the second or the third string or even the fourth string, you have to be a little bit more precise on how you strum the chord or how you attack the chord so that you can still bring out that melody note, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to do it if the melody note is on the first string or the fourth string, because it's your 2 outside strings. But when they're in the middle, you got to be a little bit more careful. So I would do things like that, and yeah, and I was just I never felt unsatisfied, like, oh man, doesn't sound full enough, or you know, something's missing. I mean, I always feel like there's something missing, in the sense where I shouldn't say missing, but I always feel like sometimes, I could add more. You know, like it would be nice to have this texture, or like a bass note playing this root, you know, below the chords that I'm playing. But I don't feel like it's missing. There's just, because the ukulele is so minimal, and you know, it's a minimalist approach in a sense. Of course, you can always add more, but I don't miss it, or it doesn't discourage me. You know.
I mean, like, but now, you know, that you're touring with a guitarist, Dave Preston, you know, as you go back and forth, you know, with him and trading off, I assume, lead and rhythm and stuff like that, I mean, does it get to a point where you're like, wow, he has so much more range with what he's able to do with the electric guitar? And
yeah, well, the nice thing about it is I love this trio format, because it's, you know, it's an acoustic ukulele, and then you have electric bass, right? Nolan Verner on electric bass, and then you have Dave Preston on electric guitar, not acoustic guitar, but an electric guitar. And what I love about it is the timbre of the ukulele is so, with the piezo pickup and the nylon strings and just the hollow body, it has such a different timbre and color, essence, everything from the electric bass and the electric guitar, you know, because you're dealing with steel strings and magnetic pickups.
Yeah.
So the timbre is just so different. So not even taking into consideration the range of their instruments, just the timbre of their instruments
Yeah.
allows the ukulele to just have its own space, you know, in the mix.
Yeah.
And then you take into consideration the range, right? Like the bass and the ukulele, they're on the complete opposite sides of the spectrum. So there's nothing I can play on the ukulele that'll get in the way of what Nolan's doing, because I never occupy that space.
Yeah.
And same thing, he never occupies the space of the ukulele. Now what's nice, so we were doing the bass and ukulele for a long time, and then Dave Preston came along, and his approach to the guitar is so different. Of course, you know, he can play it like in the conventional way, but he has this very this ambient orchestral approach, you know, where he experiments a lot with different effects and reverbs and delays and echoes and, you know, loopers and sustainers. So he's able to get like these nice like pads, you know, these long sustained pads, which I've always wanted, because the ukulele is the sustain of the ukulele is very short, right?
Yeah.
So when I play a note or play a chord, it's just ding, and then it's gone,
Right,
right?
right.
And it's just very short. So with Dave, he's able to like play a chord or even just a single note and just have it drone throughout the entire song if we wanted it to. You know, so he can play this chord and just and it almost sounds like strings, like a string section just sustaining a note, you know, over a section.
And so does that give you a little more freedom, because it's not as much a case, you know, because gosh, when I first saw you, it was just you alone on stage, and it's like you had to fill up all the space, all of the atmosphere just with the ukulele.
Yeah.
Does this give you a little bit more room to breathe, so to speak, in that these two guys are laying down a foundation so that you can step in and step out and don't have to worry about the sustain as much?
It gives me more options, right? Because I don't have to cover like you know, I don't have to cover the rhythm and the harmony and the melody all at the same time. And then it also gives me the ability to just to freeform, solo, single line notes and play, you know, and it's nice because, of course, I can do that by myself, like when I'm practicing, but it's no fun for the listener if they have no reference of what I'm playing to, right? Like in my head, I know what key I'm in, what chords I'm following, but to the listener, without it there, you know, most people won't be able to get into my head and hear, and it won't be as interesting. So it's nice to be able to have a bass line or Dave playing a chord or sustaining a note, and then what I do, because then there's that reference. It just makes it more interesting. I think it's more cohesive and more obvious.
Okay.
Right. So I think it's nice, and it gives me more of a. As a trio, we have more dynamics, not just in volume, but in texture. You know, because at any time the two of them can tacit or stop playing, and it can just be the ukulele. And then there are times where I can tacit, and it can just be the bass, just playing the bass rhythm, and then Dave and I can sneak in or something. Or I can just let the two of them go at it for like 8 bars and set the groove, set a pace, get everyone in, and then I can come in with a melodic line, right? So there's a lot more options. The music is more diverse, more dynamic, you know, with texture, with color, with harmonic complexity, right? Because at any point we can all just play in unison in different octaves, play a unison line, and then we can have, we can play, because 6 plus 4, we have 14 different. Well, there's only 12, but so we could all just play 12 different notes together,
right.
and create this, this incredible dissonance. But we can go from that to just playing one note.
Okay.
So I think that gives us just an incredible just a lot more ingredients to play with.
Yeah. And then, so you have the new album coming out, appropriately titled Trio, coming out February 14th, I believe. And one of the tracks on that, which I'm looking forward to and hoping to hear tonight, is your guys' cover of Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear that. And what I'm wondering is, because, in the past it was always just taking on a particular cover, be it Bohemian Rhapsody, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. With the three of you now, did that change how you approached the cover, how you made your way into the song?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm definitely. My part changes dramatically once I hear what Dave's doing or Nolan's doing, and it's the same for them. When they hear what I'm doing, it changes. So when we're coming up with arrangements, a lot of times in this kind of format, whoever speaks first, if it's a good idea, everyone kind of works around that idea, right? So.
And do you mean, just to clarify, do you mean speaking verbally or speaking through the instrument?
Both, know. So like if I say, hey, I'm going to do this, or if I play something, we're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, if you do that, I'm going to do this, right? So it's kind of neat. It's like it's whoever kind of steps forward first. We tend to work around that. And I think Nolan and Dave, they're so musical, and I'm always learning so much from them. So a lot of times, anytime they make a suggestion, it would be like, oh man, that would be really cool. Then I immediately start thinking like, okay, well, what can I do to either support that or to, maybe just kind of let that be a springboard, and inspire me to kind of find something or do something. Or I may just say like, that would be awesome. Yeah, if you started with that, and I'll lay out on this part so they can, just hear all the subtleties of what you're doing, and then I may come in here, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, so I mean, there's a lot that happens, and I think we have so much respect for each other, and the three of us are, we're listeners, and so we just like to. It's always fun. It's always fun, like when you find a part that sits. It's like a puzzle, right? Because I'm hearing this stuff and I'm like, oh man, that's really cool. Okay, what can I find? And sometimes I'll try different rhythmic things. I'm like, it feels like it's fighting. It feels like it's fighting. And sometimes as we play it, maybe the first few days, I'll be like, yeah, maybe I'm playing a lot less. But then one day it'll just click, and I'll be like, oh man, you know what's cool? I found this voicing or this rhythm that just works, right? And then it becomes part of the arrangement, and we all feel good about it. And that's such an exciting feeling, when you find. It's like when you're digging through a jigsaw puzzle, and you're like, I gotta find that one spot. And you're like, where is it? And then you find it like, all right, I completed the zebra now, So yeah, it's and that feeling is great, So
yeah. And along those lines, I'm always curious, with the cover tunes that you do, what's the key to honoring the original, but also putting your own stamp on it?
Yeah, My philosophy is is like if I'm covering a tune and say there's a verse, chorus, and a bridge, right? I always feel like, especially the verse and the chorus, the first time you play the verse and the first time you play the chorus, I always feel like the melody and harmonically, you should stay somewhat close to the original, or the way that, you know, the composer intended it to be. And once you state that, then it's kind of like you're showing that, yeah, I have respect for the song that you've done, that you've written, and you know, and I'm a big fan, right? And you know, I love it. And then once you do that, then the second verse and the next chorus, then you can elaborate, or you can put your own little twist on it, right? Not because you're trying to say like, oh, it should have been like this or whatever, but you know, it's just, you know, you took this amazing theme or this melody or idea from someone, and then you're like, oh, you know, well, yeah, well, you know, let's kind of collaborate in a sense, and and let me if we were to write together, you know, maybe I would have suggested, you know, kind of doing this because it accentuates the ukulele in a certain way, you know, so it's more from because of the instrument that I play, you know, this is kind of cool, this voicing, or maybe this little subtle movement here, or just kind of a little variation on the melody, right? So and that's always been very important to me. You know, if it's a classical piece, a lot of times I want to at least play it through once the way that it was written, of course, you know, before I take liberties or you know, or do any kind of variation on it. But
that's a great. I've never heard anyone put it that way before. The idea of what if we were co-writing this song together, even though that person is not there with you, you know. But it's, I don't know. I think that's a really great way to look at it. It's very, you know, well, collaborative, you know, even though the person isn't there.
And to me, that's what I always enjoy, you know. And sometimes it's just like, you know, because if you just want to do your own, if you just want to do something completely different, then I feel like you can just write your own piece and just say it was inspired by, you know, this, right?
Yeah.
But if you're covering like someone's song and you're saying, yeah, I'm playing Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, you know, so yeah, I'm gonna make sure I at least play a verse and a chorus of Hallelujah, because I'm saying, hey, this is Hallelujah. Otherwise, it's kind of you know, it's like a false advertisement otherwise, right, in some sense. But you know, but I also think it's interesting to hear, like, because I love, like, when I'm first discovering a new artist, a new singer, or you know, instrumentalist, I always gravitate toward, you know, I'll see that, oh, they covered a certain song. I'll be like, oh, I want to hear that version.
Yeah.
Or I want to hear their version over the rainbow or something, because it gives me kind of an insight of like how, you know, how they may approach music, or it gives me a little bit of a like a peek into their philosophy or their approach. And then it's always nice, because if I have a reference for the song, then at least I have something to compare it to, right? If I'm listening to something that's completely original at first, you know, which is fantastic. I mean, every song at one point is the first time that it was ever cut. So, but yeah, when I'm discovering someone new, sometimes I like to hear something that I'm familiar with, and then hearing their take on it.
And then this is kind of a 6 degrees of separation thing. So, Alan Parsons, legendary Alan Parsons, who worked on, I believe as an engineer, maybe a producer, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album. One of the things, you know, he's worked with the Beatles, numerous people, and he produced a few albums ago, I think it was Grand Ukulele, that album.
Yeah.
So now you're covering a Pink Floyd tune. I gotta ask, has Alan Parsons heard Your
Oh,
version of the Pink
no,
Floyd
he
song.
hasn't heard. He hasn't heard our take on it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, yeah, he hasn't. He hasn't heard. I think I'd be too scared to sing it to him, to be honest. But yeah, but that song is just. It's such a. I don't know, that album always seemed so different from their other stuff, you know, that whole record, and it was just so beautiful, easy to listen to, you know, great melodic ideas, but there was like just a vibe, you know, to that whole record. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember my manager turned me on to it, and the first time I really dug into that album was maybe I think it was 4 years ago. We were working on an album called Nashville Sessions, and I remember I was listening to that record over and over and over. And then we did another album after that. We did it was called The Greatest Day.
Yeah.
And then, but I really feel like on this album, you know, not just the Wish You Were Here cover, but I kind of feel like a lot of the tracks on this new record, I hear a lot of the influences from from that record, you know, the Wish You Were Here record. Especially bringing in the lap steel and all that. You know, Dave Preston did some beautiful lap steel work on it. And,
Yeah.
but it was just, yeah, there was just a vibe to it. You know, maybe just hearing David Gilmour's soloing and yeah, something really resonated with me. Yeah, we would watch. What is that? There's a certain channel on the TV, and I can't remember what it's called, but they just show concert videos and
Oh yeah.
like all day. I
Right,
mean,
right.
It's just, and not videos, but like you know, just live concerts.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, one night there was one, you know, it was Dave Gilmour live at somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but yeah, just man, there's something so magical about his playing.
Yeah.
When he gets in that zone and he just every note he plays and his phrasing, his tone, his feel, it's just incredible. Just transports you, you know, takes you to another
And a very
place.
distinct sound, especially, you know, if you listen to like the album The Wall and things like that, it just stands out on its own.
Yeah. So I know even with the distortion with my ukulele for the new record, you know, I tried different things, trying different types of overdrives, but yeah, there's a couple moments in that where you can totally tell the tone. I went for like a David Gilmour kind of tone, you know. So yeah, so it's really of course I would never say that, you know, because they're like, what, you know, everyone would get defensive. But it's inspiring, you know. I mean, for me, like I get inspired by all these guys, and it just and you know, of course, it's not a guitar; it's an ukulele. So I'm never going to be able to really get that tone or really make it sound like an electric guitar. But I mean, the reason I like distorting the clean sound of the ukulele is, well, one, I get a little more sustain out of my notes, so I can phrase things a little differently. And the other thing that I like about it is it just makes me feel like a different player.
Yeah.
You know, so because you're hearing your instrument in a different way, so it just influences you in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, so like if I were playing, you know, if I were playing like a 16 measure solo and it was completely clean, you know, just maybe with some reverb and delay on it, and I would play a solo, you know, I would feel it a certain way and I would be happy with it, you know. Well, I'm never really happy with my playing, but you know, but I'll be like, okay, yeah, well, this is how I'd approach it, this is how I would, you know, approach it. But then you run it through, you know, you kind of overdrive the sound, put a little distortion pedal in front of it with a nice, you know, delay on there, and then you play again, and you notice like it just sounds like a completely different driver behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Right. So so it's different. And then you maybe you put an octave pedal on, octave pedal in there, and then you're gonna find you're gonna do completely different, something completely different. So
Yeah. No, and as a fan, that's it's a difficult thing to convey to people who have never seen you perform, I will say, because I'm trying to explain to them, even with an instrument as small as the ukulele, the performance can have such a wide range, and the songs can have such a wide range. For instance, you can go. I've seen you do in one show. You're at one hand, you're playing that song. I think you wrote it, kind of a dedication to your wife. It's the one where
the 143.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it's very kind of sweet and kind of sensitive. And then in the same show, you'll do your instrumental Dragon, where it's running through all these different effects pedals and things like that. And it does sound like, it's like these are, you're going through vast different ends. The pendulum is swinging from one end to the other.
Yeah.
And is that part of the joy? Is like, all right, let's see how we can make this.
I mean, it's
vastly different.
It's fun. To me, it's like a big costume party, and for every song you're putting on a different costume, a different mask, So that's like I love it. It's just like you go into these different characters. I mean, you get into, like, I'm not gonna have the same. I don't feel like the same person when I play, something like In My Life. And then playing Bohemian Rhapsody, or like you said, Dragon and 143. You channel completely different emotions and thoughts and visions and colors and experiences, and so you're just in a completely different place, right?
Yeah.
But that's the fun of it, is because, and it keeps it fresh and exciting for me, because when I get up on stage, I'm not just, I know I'm not just going to be, it's not just going to be this one thing for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I get to be a lot of different things, within those 2 hours.
Right.
And that's fun. I mean, I love it. I love those moments where it's so magical that you feel transported for a little while. I mean, there are times where I remember, like, I'd be playing and I'll just get so lost in whatever it is, and then next thing I know, I'm playing the last chord and I'm almost like, did I play? In my head, I'm like, I come out of it, I'm like, did I play the whole song? I'm trying to think, did I play all the verses? Because it just seems like it just, I don't know, it went by so quickly. And I mean, those kinds of, I remember one time I got into this really relaxed state. And it was kind of when I was doing like some yoga and meditation and stuff. This was like a little over 10 years ago. And I remember, there was a time where I just kind of like closed my eyes and I was just, trying to like clear my head and just meditate. And I swear, I mean, till this day, I tell people about it, I think about it, because I felt like I just closed my eyes and I know I didn't fall asleep. Everyone's like, you just fell asleep, but I closed my eyes and I swear I opened my eyes again and I was just like, oh, I felt like 30 seconds or something, but 3 hours had just gone by.
Oh,
so
wow.
everyone's like, you just fell asleep, but you know when you fall asleep.
Right.
When you fall asleep. But, so it was, I mean, I still think about that moment, because it was the first time that had happened to me when I wasn't playing music.
Oh.
Because like when I'm on stage and we're playing, especially if everything is just feeling right, I mean that 2 hours goes by so quickly. You know, you just remember you're a little nervous, and you get up there, and you're like, okay, and you know, you start your first song, and there are nights where, you know, I remember starting the first song, and next thing I know, like, we're like, okay, we're gonna do one more song. And I was like, wow, where did that? Yeah, and I don't know if it's like that for the audience. You know, they're like, man, when are these guys gonna finish? Gosh, it feels like forever. But you know, there are moments where 2 hours feels like 2 minutes. I mean, and that's I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
It just goes by so quickly. You know, and I always keep a little clock on my pedal board, so I can always be aware of the time, especially when you do festivals. And they're locked into a very specific time, you know, then you always want to make sure the next band has time to, or the stage crew has time to break down and set up for the next band, right?
Yeah.
So no one falls behind. But yeah, I mean, that clock, you know, sometimes we'll be playing and you look down, you're like, oh yeah, we got like 30 more minutes. And
Yeah.
like, oh, this is the last song. We got to do our last song already. So yeah.
And then I read just recently that you have what you're calling a duets album. that
Yeah,
you're working on.
I think we got like, I mean, all the tracks are done. You know, I mean, everything's done. All the singers, I mean, everything's done. There's like 2 songs that, like, there's one song that I'm just going to add a little bit of light orchestration, just some strings on the 3rd verse, and then there's another song that we may have someone just play like light percussion on it or something, but it's done. You know, everything was recorded live except for these 2 things I'm talking about.
Okay.
And yeah, it's good. Yeah, they sound so good. You know, it's like it. So basically, the concept was just me getting together with most of them, mostly singers. There's a couple of instrumentals on there, but mostly singers that I either worked with in the past or I've just been fans of, and we just basically got into the recording studio and just jammed, played, you know.
And well, number one, just to clarify, it's Jake doesn't sing.
Oh yeah. It's not me singing. It's not me singing.
Him playing with singers, and as far as I've read, it includes Bette Midler and Paul Simon and Willie Nelson.
Yeah. Well, not Paul Simon. But Willie Nelson. So Willie Nelson was the first to do a track with me. So we did that, and then we got Warren Haynes, Bette Midler, Ziggy Marley, Jack Johnson, Michael McDonald, Lucas Nelson. Actually sang one of his dad's songs, which was really cool. We just had Billy Strings in there. We did a duet. Sonny Landreth, Vince Gill, and Amy Grant.
Oh, okay.
So I know I'm missing a bunch of people,
Right.
but John Anderson
Oh,
from
okay.
Yes, he did A Day in the Life.
Oh, nice.
That's incredible. So, yeah, so it's coming together. Jesse Colin Young, he did a track. So.
Well, what I'm curious about, because there's, with a few exceptions, there hasn't been any vocals on your albums.
Yeah.
And I know there's all these different videos of you out there playing live with a bunch of these people. You know, when you were asked to join Bette Midler for that performance, and you know, in front of the royal family and things of that nature. But I'm curious, you know, because now suddenly it's so much of what you do is instrumentals. Now it's about pairing the ukulele with a voice. What, in your mind, makes for a good voice that complements the ukulele?
I think any voice pairs well with the ukulele, except mine. Yeah, I you know, because I mean, as a kid, we would always just strum songs and someone would sing it. You know, someone in the group would, or someone at the party, you know, had a decent voice that would sing. So yeah, I just think it. You know, I mean, that was originally the intention of the ukulele, right? Was to support the voice. But you know, over the years, I mean, there have been players that have just elevated and expanded on the technique of the instrument, so they're not always just playing first position chords, but you know, playing chord melodies, playing, you know, using different techniques to play different genres of music, right? And those are all the people that, you know, inspired me. People like, I grew up listening to people like Ota-san and Eddie Kamai, you know, Peter Moon, Troy Fernandez. I mean, the list goes on and on. But yeah, but I feel like with this record, it's really just more the collaboration, you know, and I mean, for me, it's such an honor to be, you know, recording with these amazing artists, and just to kind of see what they bring. You know, what's really cool is so Michael McDonald, he's actually really into the ukulele.
Oh, okay.
So when we went into the studio, he brought his baritone uke, and he strummed along and sang, and I accompanied him, and so it was fun. And then but he's such an incredible musician.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy can make music out of a tin can if you wanted to.
Right.
So, but he he was fantastic. I mean, everybody. Lucas Nelson, it was the first time I ever worked with him, and everything he did was perfect. Like, he was the only artist, the only singer who basically came in, and we would do 2 or 3 passes of the song, and nothing had to be touched. And he played the guitar and sang at the same time.
Oh, okay. So not like an overdub thing.
His pitch, his guitar playing, everything was flawless.
Wow.
I mean, every single time. I mean, the only reason we had to do it, like, you know, a couple times was because we decided to change the arrangement. Like, we would play it from beginning, to end, and then he would be like, "Oh, maybe we should go back to the chord, or maybe you should take a longer solo here or something, right?" And then we'd go back and then redo it, and every single time he did it perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, every song. We tracked 4 songs in, like, I don't know, 3 hours. It was unbelievable. He's just so, everything he did was just, every take could have been the one.
Wow.
You know, on his part. Yeah, I had to fix a couple of my parts, but his part was like just perfect. Yeah.
And then just to take it from a different angle, so much of the playing you do, you are using the ukulele to present the lyrics of a song in concert, especially when you do a cover tune.
Oh, yeah.
And what I'm wondering is, because there's been so much written about other guitarists and their influence on you, like, for David Gilmour in this case, or when you do hammering techniques like Eddie Van Halen and stuff like that. What I'm curious is, maybe with this project, maybe with other stuff, what vocalist has influenced your playing the most?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, vocals to me, it's just the ultimate instrument, singers, because there's just, they can bring out so much emotion, and they can bring, they just, I don't know, singers, I mean, I listen to singers all the time, on my playlist. It's always, people always ask me, like, so you must listen to a lot of instrumental music. I go, no, I mean, I do, but not so much. I mean, I'm always listening because I love hearing lyrics. I love hearing words. I love. So when you have a singer, who's not just communicating in the traditional sense where they're using words and vocabulary, sentences that you can process and make sense of, but then also be able to have that melodic content and that emotional content, behind it. It's the most powerful thing. I mean, you can't compete with that, right? So,
and actually, the last time we spoke, you talked about how a lot of your instrumentals have lyrics that play in your mind as you're playing them. No one's ever heard them. No one ever will hear them. but
Well,
that you've got these lyrics going in your mind even as you're performing.
yeah, it helps me to it helps me to phrase the melody. You know, that's why I love covering songs. You know, that have lyrics, because I'm singing the song in my head
Yeah.
as I'm playing it, and that helps me to draw out more emotion. It helps me to phrase the melody properly. So, and I never realized how much I rely on lyrics until I did a project in Japan, maybe almost 20 years ago. I did this recording project where I covered 12 very popular Japanese songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I never struggled so much in my life, because I realized that, you know, because they were all vocal tunes.
Yeah.
But because I don't speak Japanese, I couldn't sing along
Oh.
in my head as I played. And it was the most
Oh, wow.
bizarre feeling, because so I actually had to memorize, like I would memorize a verse and a chorus,
Okay.
because, you know, I just phonetically just get it, you know, even if I got it wrong, but just to be able to say the syllables, like how many
Yeah.
syllables there were, then I could, then I had something to play to, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
kind of
yeah.
a mental cheat sheet, so to speak.
Yeah, and it was so weird, because I just thought, like, why can't I just approach it like an instrumental piece, right? And then just take it that and then play it that way. But it was, I'd never experienced that before. It was really weird. I thought,
Wow.
oh, this is gonna be no problem, you
Yeah.
know? But it was probably one of the hardest projects for me,
Oh, okay.
just because of the language.
Wow.
You know, and then of course I wanted to know the meaning right behind the songs, and I would have the translation and all that. But still not being able to really make sense lyrically what's happening here.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's supposed, I know what this whole thing is about, but I don't know where the keywords
Yeah.
are, or like, you know, so I don't know where to place the emotion, or
Right,
you know,
right.
yeah, it's like I'm emphasizing the or and,
Yeah.
right? You know, you have no idea what you're doing. So it was, it was just you know, I realized how much I depend on
Wow.
lyrics a lot as I'm singing, and sometimes, you know, sometimes I don't know the entire song, like I don't have the entire song memorized, but as long as I know one, you know, like the chorus and a couple verses, you know, I mean, sometimes I'll sing the same verse, you know, when I get back to when I repeat the verse, I mean the verse section, even though it may be different lyrics, I can still go back to the first verse and sing that again. You know, it's basically the same melody, and there may be a few things where, you know, there's an embellishment, or
Yeah.
or there's more syllables in that phrase, so more notes basically you have
Right.
to play. But usually by that time, I'm kind of doing a variation anyway, so it kind of you know, at least I have something to guide me through it. Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. I never even would have guessed about that. Wow. Well, I've already kept you here way longer than I said I would, but is there anything we have not touched on that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I just think music is I don't know, I'm so grateful for it, and I just want to encourage, I guess, anyone out there, you know, if you've never played an instrument, or you don't feel like you have any musical talent, like, go and buy an ukulele, because it's so easy, you know. And I tell people all the time that it's one of the easiest instruments to just pick up and start playing. You know, you can. It's encouraging because you can start playing immediately. You know, because even the guitar, which, you know, a lot of people say it's similar to the guitar, even the guitar, like, to hold a chord, it'll require, you know, at least a couple fingers, right, to hold a chord, and then you know, it's the steel strings cut into your fingers, so it's
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
hard. But the ukulele, once you get it in tune, you can play chords with just one finger and strum and full chords. Nice chords, not just your basic triads, but you can play your dominant sevenths and your minor sevenths, your sixes just with one finger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's nice and it's encouraging, and I love working with people who have never played an instrument before, and I'll do like a class or a workshop or a master class or something, and they'll and I'll show them just like one or two things and be like, oh, and they're just like, I'm playing. I never thought I'd be playing an instrument, but that joy that they feel, I think says it all. And